Come on in already.
I'm about it. Well, everybody, a Midsummer Paradise event is back. And there's a couple of things we need to go over before I jump into this event. This will be one of several guides because there's a lot of different ways to handle this event and they all depend on what units you have. First, they didn't change the event. I know. In the last video, I said there's no way that they wouldn't change the event, that they changed it for China last year, but they didn't. It's the same hyper monetized predatory imprint system as it was last year that got them review bombed and made them apologize and give out slates. But now that it's out, it's going to be difficult for them to roll it back. I mean, not without opening themselves up to potentials of chargebacks and refunds. For now, I'm going to go over ways for you to deal with the situation we got. It's not an easy event, but we do have a path forward for you. First things first, in order to access the event, you've got to do the story. Make sure you complete all of Chapter 1 and all of Chapter 2. Last year, this was 2 weeks worth of event, but they've compressed it, so you can do Chapters 1 and 2 all at once. Once you do them, make sure you receive the awards. If you don't click Receive the Rewards, you'll not be able to access the shop. Once you click Receive the Rewards for both chapters, you'll be able to access the mileage shop. And in the mileage shop, you will have your souvenir exchange. If it doesn't say you have any exchanges left, or if it says you only have 14, go back into the story, make sure you've completed both chapters, and make sure you've clicked Receive All on Chapters 1 and Chapters 2. Receiving on Chapter 1 will give you 15, and receiving on Chapter 2 will give you the other 15, and that's what gives you 30 for the mileage shop. Now, when you buy things from the mileage shop, it will be random what pops out. If you click the information button, you can see everything that's available. Don't be upset if you get 150 gold instead of a mana revision stone, or you get a pet ticket instead of Molagora. You will eventually get everything. There are 30 possibilities here, and there are 30 exchanges available. All that's impacted is the order at which they come out, but you will get everything eventually. The other thing is the gear exchange. For 400 currency, you can get a pen set, a counter set, or a resist set, and you get to select which one you get. So you will always get a pen set if you choose a pen set. It will always be epic level gear, red gear. Now you can't choose sub-stats or stats below that, but it is the best way to get the best possible gear for these specific sets. Now it doesn't mean it won't roll like crap. It doesn't mean you won't get your pen set ring with effectiveness main stat. That kind of stuff's going to happen, but that's going to happen with all ways of getting gear in Epic 7. This is hands down the best way to farm specific gear for the sets. It's substantially better than Hunts. It's substantially better than Rift. It's a gold positive event. You get pretty good gold from farming this event, and the summons don't cost gold. Unlike crafting, where you spend gold to craft, there's no better way to boost your account than this. Now, next week, Chapter 2 of the event will open. This chapter will be open for all 3 weeks. Next week, we get 2 weeks of the second half of the event. And on that half of the event, you'll have access to Torrent set, Speed set, and I believe Hit set. Yay. Now, what should you farm? It depends what your account needs. If you are a Banshee gamer, you probably want to farm the Speed set. If you're a Wyvern gamer, you probably want to farm the counter set. And I know that sounds backwards, but whatever hunt you've pounded all this time, you probably are pretty well set up. I'm going to be pushing the first half of this event more because my speed gear is pretty damn good, but my counter gear is lacking. So farm where you need. Farm what's going to improve your account the most. Work on the best return on investment. And if the best return on investment for you is chasing speed gear and trying to improve your speed thresholds, then you do that. If your best return on investment is, hey, I need to be able to build units like ML Landy, then maybe you go for counter. And also pen set and torrent set are extremely high value. Pen set is way more commonly used than torrent set, but torrent does have niche uses in this game that are very, very good. So chase what you need. Enough yakking, let's talk about how to do this event. Now there are 3 different tiers, we'll call them, for farming this event. Tier 1, and that is the Shambles tier. Tier 1 is the people who do not have Ocean Breeze Luluca at all. If you do not have Ocean Breeze Luluca, this event is extremely difficult to farm. You will need to have the unit Rowana to farm it at the highest level. If you do not have Luluca or Rowana, just stick to farming stages 2 and stages 3, get the currency you need to clear the shop. You will still get a tremendous amount of gear. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Stage 3, for me, pumps out about 58 currency per run. Stage 4, or the challenge stage 1, pumps out about 69 currency. That's a 25% difference, but if you don't look at that percentage-wise, it's only 11 currency per run. Now that does add up, but it's not like it's you get everything, you get nothing kind of a thing. This is perfectly farmable. It's plenty to clear out the shop and get some really, really good gear. So just because you can't farm the challenge level doesn't mean this event is useless. 75% of the best event for farming in the game is still the best farming event in the game, so don't lose hope if you don't have Luluca or Rowana. But if you do have Rowana, this is how we're going to do the event. This is why I said there's tiers. If you click this details button in the corner, you can see the impact Luluca has. If Luluca is on the team at all, you reduce the boss's memory fragment by 1, and this is the boss's clapback skill. It happens practically every round. But if you have this, it gives you 1 to 2 rounds of delay between the clapbacks, and it makes it much more survivable. At levels A, and this is the 3rd tier, is you have Luluca at A imprint and above, you can just go with a nuke team. Just basically Luluca and a whole bunch of DPSs and burst the boss down as quickly as possible because you don't have to worry about clapbacks. Now, when you have to worry about no clapbacks, some clapbacks, or constant clapbacks, that's where you get 3 different team builds. The only difference between A and triple S is the amount of additional damage you do and the reduction in damage you take. So it just lets you farm faster and cleaner. There really is no difference between how efficiently the team works. It's just how quickly you clear. But with B and no imprint, you still have to run a relatively slow team, but it's a little bit more stable and it's not as slow as running it without Luluca. Now, running it without Luluca, we need to have Rowana in the team. Now, the ways to handle the constant spamming of clapbacks is to go with self-sustaining, bruisery tanky units, or to go with evasion units. Now, a really, really good clapback team would be to run Seaside Bologna and Lone Crescent Bologna as your 2 units. It's actually hilarious to watch how often they slap back their attacks from the constant incoming attacks from Lethe. But I'm putting together this team specifically because it uses no ML5 units and no limited units. If you have ML5s and limiteds, those work great. Lone Crescent Bologna works great. Lionheart Sirmia works great. Navy Captain Landy would probably work great. Tanky and self-healing. Remember, that's what you're looking for. Tanky and self-healing or evasion. Remnant Violet would work. Evasion. Down here, I'm going the full tank route. I've got Alencia. She won't get Mind's Eye because of the seal, but that's okay. I've got Brieg for seals. Alencia self-heals because of her number 1 EE. Brieg technically self-heals in the sense that he constantly spams barriers, and barriers are a form of health, right? I mean, artificial HP is still HP. Shu self-heals when she does her S2 attack. So we've got a lot of good options for tanky units. Another great one would be Mort. You want to have a defense breaker on both teams. I've got Alencia's S1 for defense break. I've got Mort S3 for a defense break. I've got Fat Cat's S3 for a defense break. Another fantastic addition to either team, ideally the bottom team, would be Falcon or Clury. Falcon or Clury is a defense break and extra passive healings. She's also a knight. She can wear Aureus and reduce the incoming damage. Find the combination that works for you. You can drop one of the damage dealers and put a mitigating knight on there. You could run Albedo. You could run the new ML Senya. You could run Arrowwell. Something to take the edge off if you find you're dying too quickly. Now this back position, you'll notice, has a key on it. Anybody that's put in this back position will appear on both teams. If I put Auden in this back position, Auden's on both teams. So Rowana is so important. We want Rowana on both teams. Now, as for Rowana, how she is built is I put her on the Soul Consolation artifact simply for a currency stick. If you don't have Soul Consolation, your best artifact for her would be Shamadra's Staff. The reason for Shamadra's Staff is it boosts the healing effect by 30%, and that's huge. Instead of healing 3,000 health, she's going to heal 3,900 health. So this will really help you stay alive. If you don't have Shamadra's Staff, there is a free-to-play artifact. It's in the Book of Memories. You can go and look for it, but it's called Love Potion. You can put Love Potion on any unit. So you probably will put it on a unit other than Rowana, and that'll give you up to a 10% healing bonus. So it's a third the healing boost of Shamadra's Staff, but it's still free healing boost, and you can run this on a unit that's not Rowana. And then you can put Rowana on another healing artifact like Guardian Ice Crystal, Touch of Rekos, Celestine, something to give additional healing. But that's all you need for Rowana. As for stats on Rowana, just 6 pieces of gear. She doesn't need much. I didn't go super high-end gear on any of these units. You could improve this a lot by custom tailoring the gear. My Auden is probably the only really well-geared unit, and that's because she's geared for RTA. I've got her on a damage set. If you went with a tankier Auden, that might be safer. I put her on Violet's Talisman to get her closer to 100% evasion. You don't have Violet Talisman, that's okay. You can run Moonlight Dreamblade, really any evasion artifact. I don't recommend her own evasion artifact because there are no dark bosses to hit, so you don't get that much benefit out of it. My green Violet is just a really old school anti-cleave Violet. He's got a lot of health, not a lot of defense. He's got some damage, but nothing amazing. I've got him on an evasion artifact. I gave him Moonlight Dreamblade. Any evasion artifact works. And he's on a lifesteal set, which will help him with his self-sustain. And Fat Cat. Fat Cat doesn't really need anything, except for 85% crit chance. Now, my Fat Cat is on a pen set. That's for some arena tech for defense. He doesn't need to be on a protection set. Just give him 6 pieces of gear, make sure he's a little bit tanky, and make sure he has 85% effectiveness so he has a good chance to stick the defense break. This artifact does nothing for me. Better to put him on an artifact that helps your team. Put him on Guardian Star Blessing, which will heal probably Auden 8% every time he takes a turn. Nostalgic Music Box, if you have it, is fantastic. This one is a, every single buff it can give is value. Barriers, great. Defense, great. Immunity, yeah, okay. Continuous healing, fantastic. This would be a great one to put on Fat Cat. If you have it, Love Potion, fantastic option for Fat Cat. Boosts the healing of Rowana, allowing Rowana to still wear the event artifact for additional currency. As for Team 2, this is a standard shoe, and she would be much better on a DPS artifact that worked. Daydream Joker does not work in this fight, so you could put her on any one of a dozen different warrior artifacts that could do additional damage, but right now I just use her in Labyrinth, and that's why she's on DDJ, even though DDJ will not work in this fight. Number 1 EE is fine. Alencia. This is my old how to deal with APOC Ravi Alencia, and I just don't use her anymore. You can't injure Lethe, so this set is useless. She would be much better on a counter set, or a destruction set, or a speed set. 85% crit chance plus this artifact gets her pretty close. You know what? I'm green into ice. This artifact is stupid. 85% is all she needs to hit ice. I could change this artifact to a DPS artifact. I could run her on Our Beautiful Seasons, or just really any warrior artifact that does damage. For the EE, you want the one that recovers her health when she uses Eradicate. And just a standard Expedition Brig. Nothing fancy about him. Nothing special about him. He's basic speed, he's got decent health, he's got a little bit of damage, he's got enough effectiveness to stick debuffs, and with this artifact he is up to 100% crit chance. Again, just Rowana with 6 pieces of gear, either on Shamadra's Staff, some form of extra healing, or ideally the event artifact, because you do want the additional 10% currency from wearing the event artifact. Oh, and speaking of that, I would not go for 10 extra % currency and give up having 2 of these artifacts. If you already have 2 of them and you want to fuse, then go for it, but I think you don't want to just take 5 extra currency per run in exchange for losing a limited 5-star artifact that you could put on a second unit. Lots and lots and lots of options. Just remember, Each team, you're looking for 3 things. You want a defense breaker on each team, ideally, just to speed things up a little bit. You want evasion units or tanky HP units on both teams. That's the second thing you need. And the third thing you need is you want the units to have some form of self-sustain. Barriers on Brieg, self-healing on Shu and Alencia, self-healing on Violet and Auden. That helps keep them alive, either through lifesteal, through artifacts, or through basic nature of their kit. Some form of self-sustain. And of course, finally, Rowana to keep everybody safe and healthy. Before you start the fight, make sure you have your side story currency earned pet equipped. 16% additional currency, and it applies to this event, so don't leave money on the table. Have your side story pet enabled. It is not a hunt, so you cannot use the hunt pet for this. You want to use your side story pet. Here's the fight. Everybody's skills are turned on. At the start of the fight, Leithie's going to do her S3 and hit everybody, applying debuffs to anybody who doesn't dodge. Fat Cat hopefully sticks the defense break. We got it, and that's going to make things move a little faster. If you don't stick the defense break, it still works. It's just slower. I like how Leithie's S3 just hit everybody, right through all the evasions. Now that attack right there hits through evasion, regardless. So you do have a chance for your evasion units to die, but as long as one of your evasion units lives, you'll be able to push through until the end. So the reason we've got 2 evasion units here instead of running, say, I don't know, Falcon or Clury as a 3rd unit is just a little bit of consistency. That way, if Auden gets hit and dies, Violet can finish the fight. If Violet gets hit and dies, Auden can finish the fight. Auden almost died. That's why you want the self-sustain. That S1 that she just did gave her enough healing that she lived and allowed Rowana to finish healing her up. All these clapbacks every single time Rowana heals. You can see why using either of the Bolognas here would be great. Seaside Bologna or ML Bologna would constantly be doing clapbacks. There's nothing fast about this team. But remember, speed is not that important. It costs 30 stamina to do this fight. If you farm this fight for 12 hours a day, you will need over 600 leifs to farm this event all 3 weeks. Now, if you have over 600 leifs, sure, you might want to optimize this team for a little bit of a faster version, but also remember that week 2 with the speed set and the torrent set, that is a much easier, faster week to farm than this week. So only if you have over 600 leifs, and only if you plan to farm the counter and pen set the entire event, do you really care about a team that's faster than, say, 7 minutes. Because, yeah, 7 minutes, 12 hours a day, for 3 weeks, maths out to over 600 leifs to sustain it. So don't panic too much about, is your team the fastest team in your guild? It doesn't need to be. It just needs to be consistent, and thank God for background battling. We don't have to see that octopus proc every single time. Okay, we're rolling up on the end. So this is how an evasion version of this team works. Come on, finish it off. I think that's it. Nice. So that's how the evasion team works. We'll slide into phase 2, and this is a non-evasion team. This is a self-sustained, tanky bruiser team with a defense breaker. We've got Alencia to strip off the speed buff. Also, Brieg will strip off the speed buff. If you don't have Brieg, Mort, Green Mort is a really, really good option for this. He is packed with defense breaks. He gives anti-crit to the whole team. He's a solid option as well. Falcon or Clury is another solid option. She has got a strip. She's got a defense break. She passively heals, which helps keeps everybody alive.
Dealing with you just a waste of my time.
Not a big fan of how Leithie is hard focusing my poor Brieg there.
That was never gonna work. Annoying vermin must be crushed. Get out of my sight.
And remember, if you don't have any of these units, there's a whole host of units you could substitute in. Lionheart Sirmia, fantastic. Lone Crescent Bellona, fantastic. Seaside Bellona, fantastic. Remnant Violet on the Evasion Squad, fantastic. You've got a lot of options. Just keep in mind when you're building your team, Rowana plus self-sustaining bruiser or evasion unit plus defense breaker, and you'll be good. If you are having trouble surviving, swap one of the damage dealers out for a mitigation unit like Albedo or Arrowell or Flurry or Mort wearing an Arius artifact, something to take the edge off the damage so that Rowana can keep up with it. As long as Rowana can keep up with the healing, you'll be golden.
Get out of my sight. You can run, but you can't hide. That was never gonna
Every single time she does that clapback.
You can run,
So tired of seeing it.
hide.
But this is where Luluca comes in. If you once you have Luluca, it reduces the amount she does that by 1. So you get a little bit of a break. Instead of every single time you hit her, you eat a clapback, you get some time in between it. And when you get to a B imprint, it reduces it by 2. And by the time you're to an A imprint, it reduces it by 3. And that reduces it so much, Rowana is no longer effective. And you start just bursting the damage down. If you've got a B or no imprint team,
It's just a waste
you
of
can
my
still use Rowana, but she's not as critical. But without Luluca at all, if you don't have Rowana, I don't think you're going to be able to successfully farm Challenge Stage 4 in any meaningful way.
Get out of my sight.
So just stick with farming Stage 3 if that's your case.
Or get close to me. Such incompetence.
May the holy light
Save us all. You can run, but you can't hide. That was never gonna work. Get out of my sight.
Oh my god, this takes forever.
Hide.
But that's why you get to run it in the background. You run this in the background,
That was
and you do other things in Epic 7. You run it in the background on your tablet. You set a timer to remind you to come back every hour to restart the farm, and you do whatever it is you're doing with the rest of your day. You'll burn through your leaves plenty fast, even at this speed. But as you can see, nobody really in serious danger. Now, it can happen. You saw Brieg at one point in time, his health got down to about 25%. If she hyper-focuses one unit, you can fail. It's just very rare. It's a pretty consistent team. I could optimize artifacts, gear, and efficiencies to make this a lot more stable. I could fish in some ML units and some limited units and make it even more efficient. But I'm hoping this gives you a free-to-play way to beat this team without Luluca and to farm this event at Stage 4 at the maximum level and earn currency along with everybody else in the game that got lucky and pulled their Ocean Breeze Lulucas. Hopefully this guide helps you guys out. Hopefully it gives you a way forward, and I will put out some more guides. I'm going to put out a guide for people that have no imprint or B imprint only Lulucas, and I'm going to put a guide out for people who have an A imprint or higher Lulucas who just want to farm this event at max speed, max efficiency with the best gear in the game, or best units in the game. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Join my Discord if you have any questions, if you want to discuss options, if you're missing units and you need ideas, hit me up in the comment section or in Discord. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care, everybody.